Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Renaissance. I feel like today we're going to be taking a look at another beautiful evolution of what was once Supreme Straits, turned into Supreme Isthmus, and is now Supreme Isthmus version 1.6.1. Do I have that right? Let me just double check that. Supreme Isthmus version 1.6.1. As you might already have noticed, there are a couple of important changes here, and I'm super excited to check them out alongside with you today. So, aside from the wonderful artwork our spectators have brought up for us today, why don't we meet our team leaders? Spawning on the southwestern side, representing the red team as an Armada commander going into the C lane position, it's going to be Pyzod. Pyzod spawning here, and this leads you with a lot of options. We've seen a lot of different interesting takes on this island. We've seen the full-blown T3 rush, right, where you try and get T3 up as quick as possible and flood it into the oceans, do something like that. You can, of course, try and contest into the seas. That's kind of the stock standard, although less and less standard these days. I find myself less and less surprised when I see commanders going for less naval action and more hovercraft or T3 or some other interesting strategy up there. Spawning on the other side of the map, spawning in the mid lane position, with a geothermal here. This is interesting. We'll discuss the changes here in just a second, but representing our blue team as a Armada commander as well, it's going to be Nico. Nico and the Niners here are going to be taking control of the blue team. 37 true skill. I always say that like they're, like they're actually commanding. Oftentimes it's not really how that works, but I guess we can make believe, right? Wow, wind speed is quite low right now. Nico here going to be pumping out a resbot right off the gate, and I think that's probably not a bad idea. Decides to go for the solar panel there after starting the wind turbine, looking at that awful wind speed, and then realizing, yeah, probably a good idea to go for the solar panels. It's rare that I encourage the use of solar panels, but that was a really good decision right there by Nico. Also going to finish up the wind turbine here, of course, to not waste that metal, right? That's very good. Easy micro mistake to make, right? You accidentally leave your building unfinished. He would have only lost like 15, 18 metal right there, but still, better no metal lost than any metal lost. How on earth did he queue that up? Oh, I guess what he probably did was queued one square and then queued another square on top of it. Yeah, that must have been what that is. Anyways, some of the changes for this map. Well, the first and most obvious one, the one that I'm most excited to see, I do see a scout plane going across the map, by the way. That's really nice to see. We'll have to check how much scouting that can get done in just a second here, but one of the biggest changes, the one that I'm most excited for, is this over here. You can see that now in the naval field, this, what was once a really, rather bland naval pond, has now been turned into a riveting ocean to try and fight for contest over. You have these mountains here to dip, dive, duck, and dodge your units into. You can try and bob and weave through those structures to take cover, try and fire through the little cracks and crevices with artillery guns, and dodge little gunboats or maybe dolphins through the little cracks in the rocks here. I'm super excited to see it. Not to mention also that some reclaim has been put down here. Looks like these are just all energy, which is maybe not the most groundbreaking of reclaim fields to add eventually, but still better than nothing, certainly. Very aggressive push here by Janky, but it is going to lock down this center island. Let's take a look at how much this scouting plane was able to do. Okay, so at the very least figuring out where some of these players are, right? It knows where the Ragnolf is going to spawn, it knows where RGX is at, it knows where Battle Ruck is at, and it knows where also all these three commanders are at. So that's really good. That does at the very least give the red team a little bit of information about where maybe not the bases are at, but at the very least where the colors are at, right? They know the distribution of skill level. This is a really nice pick right here by these grunts. I want to talk about the map, but there's already so much action on the field here. Very nicely done by Pasta Polo, coming in at 26 true skill and well and away, dealing critical damage to his opponent Fuzu, who's been shoved up to the front line here. Poor 4 true skill Fuzu, gonna be losing his bot lab to just 3 grunts. That hurts a lot. Blitzes show up eventually, but they're far too late here, and now Fuzu is forced to retreat and rebuild from essentially scratch. A couple of light laser towers on the front are going to stall a little bit, but not for long. There is already some aggravators out here, and those are going to break down those LLT barricades very quickly. Tom is transporting the commander over here, going to try and claim the metal extraction points on the island. I think that's a good idea. Torpedo launcher will also protect this from any gunboat harassment. That's also very nice. One of the changes that I want to talk about before we move any further is that you can see the player that usually spawns right about here has been shifted over. And of course, this is mirrored across the other side of the map here, right? So over here has been shifted over this way. Now that makes it interesting because it means that this player is much more susceptible to bombardment from naval forces, right? You can imagine a capital ship or even just dreadnoughts, full-on battleships would be able to fire away at this facility. It's very, very close to the shoreline here. It's something that oftentimes wasn't really a problem for the players sitting right here, aside from maybe missile boats and capital ships, but now it's actually something significantly worth considering, and it does mean that this player has a much quicker way to get into the water. They're almost encouraged to get into the water. Now they also have this geothermal, which means that the tech transition is also open in case you want to go for that really, really quick T2 transition, and indeed it looks like that's what Solo Q is going to be going for here. Going for that T2 lab, which is sort of what we saw in Supreme Straits, except in Supreme Straits there wasn't this forward geothermal vent here that you could take advantage of, meaning that now the front line has an option for going up to a really quick T2 if they win their lane, right? You win your lane and then you take your geothermal, you now have the energy and the metal in order to go for T2, and that can be very, very powerful. But it also means that you have the energy to go for maybe a more expensive comp. Surely vehicle players are going to feel a little more comfortable with some more energy flowing into their account, and as well, 300 energy per second can quickly turn into a decent amount of metal with just a couple of energy converters. All said and done, I think these geothermals offer a lot of strategic variety. Both of the placements here, both the mid lane one and the front line one, I think both of them are really, really nice, and so I'm excited to see. I just haven't seen too many games on this. Actually, yeah, I think this might be my first time watching a game on this map, so I'm really excited to get a chance to see how it turns out, see what the changes can make, what the changes bring, see what this newest evolution of our beloved map has to offer here. Pastapolo doing a great job of degunning down these turrets. Jamoguitar trying very, very, very hardly to try and get a LOT up, but you can see not once but twice denied here by the light blue commander, the aquamarine blue commander. Huge contest over here on the naval field. You can see that the red player is trying to get a little bit of damage done. Sent some dolphins around, but those don't really have a way to get any damage in. Now they're going to be queued back as they realize there's a massive army headed in this direction. It's a lot of hovercrafts that were built by Nico here. I guess that's the strategy we're going to go for. Hovercraft lab in the back line to try and pump out a whole bunch of those seekers and send them across the map. And I think it could definitely do a lot of damage. This first wave of Seekers is going to move ahead on into the red base here. Pizod, who, well, stepped out into the water and played that naval game, but now that leaves him incredibly susceptible to a little bit of run-by harassment. Indeed, a couple of these Seekers will make it through. A couple of them were shut down, but still 6 Seekers did manage to make it through. They're going to avoid the LOT over there and head directly into the main facility of the red player. Let's see how much damage these can do. Air is called. Not sure exactly what you're calling for, as the air player doesn't really have any response here. Shuriken may be the only appropriate answer. LOT in the base is going to shut down at least one of those Seekers, but there's still 2 more. Made it into the facility. There's also another Seeker that's split off here, another one that was sent up to the northern side to try and shut down this geothermal. All said and done, this is very, very annoying to deal with, yeah. Extremely, extremely nicely done here that we're splitting up the Seekers to try and do as much damage distributed across as many faces as possible here. Very, very nicely done. Oh, are we going to kill the Constructor here too? That is nice. Constructor does go down, which means the geothermal won't finish, which means this red player is completely without power. Well, not completely without power. There is still the main base, but that was certainly a hit to the economy right here. Denying this geothermal is really, really important. It's going to deny 300 metal per, or 300 energy per second that could have been in the red player's economy. Well, pushing into the Janus is very expensive without some sort of soaking unit in the front, right? You want some grunts or some ticks or some sort of spam that you can put up in the front. Nicely done by Fuzu to get that metal extractor up and running as soon as it goes down here. You really don't want to spend any time with that thing offline. 4.3 metal per second is definitely well worth fighting over. And indeed, it's one of the reasons why I really like this aggression here by Pastapolo and Janky, who have both managed to keep their metal extractors, rather, up and running on the front line, meaning that they're pulling in a whopping 4, 8, 12 metal per second back to their team here. 16 metal per second, give or take. Closer to 17, I think. 17.2, quick maths. Probably wrong. Anyways. The cardinal sin of videography, right? Never do math while recording. Anywho, Southern Sea is still contested right here. There's a lot of torpedo launchers by our purple player, so understandable that the orange player is a little bit hesitant to get in there, but certainly once we have the destroyer out, we can start poking away, right? We want to start getting damage with that destroyer, otherwise it's just dead metal. A bunch of these did manage to make their way over, all the way over here. Seekers, that is, from the blue player. Hounds coming out of the T2 lab will eventually clean all this up, and all will be well and good here. Yeah, not bad. Definitely not bad. Front lines are looking tenuous. There's a whole bunch of medium tanks here for Jamoguitar. That's what all the metal's been spent on. Nothing but medium tanks here, and I think what I would love to see is maybe asking for one of the bot players to lend a res bot. Just a single res bot to patch up some of these units, as well as reclaim any of the corpses from the tanks in the front line, and certainly this is enough medium tanks to, if not break this front line, then certainly demolish all of these units here. You do have to be careful, of course, because that green commander is very liable to send a D-gun right down the middle of your forces, wiping out at least half of them, if not more. Depends on the quality of the D-gun, but certainly capable of dispensing an immense amount of lethal, disintegrated justice. Yep, medium tank's taking a very efficient trade here. This is really good for Zambo-Qatar. Shutting down the green forces, not allowing them to spiral really here. It's gonna force the forces from the Aquamarine player to come on over in this direction. Heavy laser tower was set up here as a little bit of a deterrent. Not too crazy. A little bit expensive here at 480 metal, but not more expensive than maybe a couple of tanks. Two or three pounders are about the same cost, I do believe. You're not looking at an incredible expense here in order to set up that heavy laser tower, but for what you get, you certainly do acquire a nice little bit of sturdy defense, right? You feel a little more comfortable blasting down some of these units here. The heavy laser tower is to medium tanks as the pulsar is to juggernauts, which seems like a very drastic comparison to make, but it really makes sense when you kind of compare the health values here. You can see it fires away and it only shreds off about, oh, I don't know, 6% or so from these medium tanks, but for the cost, you're effectively outranging these units and you're hitting them with a heavy laser as opposed to a Gauss projectile or anything like that for roughly double the cost of one of these tanks here. It's all about damage over time, right? Not the napalm sort of or you know, EMP kind of damage over time, but more so the just getting damage as you manage to keep your units alive here. Nice little D-guns there do clean up some of them, but Jenkins Commander is in a lot of trouble here. Ooh, 27% down to 22. Oh yeah, the brutes are looking for it. They really want it. Bunch of medium tanks saved up right here. I wonder what we're planning to do there with Battle Rucks. Medium tanks, we're just waiting. Pastapolo desperately pleading for his teammate to stop AFKing the medium tanks. Maybe we're planning to do some sort of 8-minute tank run by at the 12-minute mark. Finally, the tanks do decide to move out a little bit further here. Not really getting too creative out on the map, but they certainly decide to, at the very least, step into this match. There is an agitator that was set up over here, and it's going to start firing away at this heavy laser tower over here, which I do believe there's just too much firepower to shut down, and too much firepower to repair, rather. It's going to be the heavy laser tower going in. Oh, massive Janus connection. Oh my goodness, those medium tanks just got evaporated. Medium tanks just evaporated into thin air right there as those Januses fired. I don't think there was a better connection there for the brown and the yellow player. Excuse me, for the brown and the yellow player than that. I think that was just about as good as you could hope to get. That was something really special. Very nicely done. Unfortunate use of those tanks right there. Definitely going to be a lot of metal going right back to Fuzu's economy, and you can see him greedily eating it all up with the commander. That being said, there is a little bit of an incursion over here. D-guns going down, trying to shut down some of these units. Leaves but only the destroyers and, well, a single frigate here to try and guard. Fuzu in a little bit of trouble here, though. Yeah, gonna have to cloak the commander and get on out of there. It was nicely done with those D-guns here by the yellow commander, but just not able to walk away with his life, which is a little bit unfortunate. Destroyers now ravaging the coast over here. They don't have any radars, though, so they're basically just using whatever vision they have. Not that it's the end of the world, but certainly a little bit of vision might not hurt. Missile ship here for Cortex would be the right answer there. Gives you quite a bit of vision and allows you to fire away just a little bit further. I always try to include those into my composition, least of all for the anti-air, but also just for the fact that you can certainly use that missile truck to fire away at some of these other structures that are just a little bit out of reach of normal ships. Destroyers not to be considered normal ships, though. They're certainly the top of the line for the T1 era, and certainly with, what is this, 6 destroyers coming up now? 6 destroyers, you're looking pretty solid in terms of your offensive capabilities. Red player not really in any kind of similar state here. Yeah, you can see essentially pushed out of the water and forced back on the land. Going to be going up to a T2 economy here, and I wonder what the transition is going to be here for Pizod. Pizod? Not sure entirely. Hound's now starting to whittle away on the front lines here. There is a radar bot, there is a radar jammer bot that's going to make these a whole lot better. Hound's able to fire away from much further. I like the Gauss mode, however, I think against tanks it's justifiable to go into the plasma mode. Well, now I can't remember what the default mode is called. Either way, the lobbed projectile, just because the tanks are a little bit slower, you can oftentimes hit them a little bit more consistently with that mode, and it does do a little bit more damage. So it's it's something to keep in mind here. That being said, I think across the board, the Gauss mode is probably a little bit more consistently better. Especially if you're going up against an opponent that you know is going to be going for bots. You know you're going to be dealing with something fast, especially once they hit T2. And not to mention these hovercraft that are also trying to sneak their way across here. I think the pink player must see this. Yeah, I think Zamo Guitar is on to the blue player's shenanigans here, trying to move some of these seekers across the ocean fields. Big old torpedo warfare down over here. We have a grand total of 6 submarines with the 7th coming out. A whole bunch were saved up over here as well, and they're going to move out. That is actually a really significant submarine army. I think we need to conjoin all these forces. I think if these armies meet up, then they definitely have enough firepower to blast through our orange player OB2's base. However, if they trickle in one by one, that could definitely be a bad engagement. Steadily winning the Naval Sea here. It looks like Zeeberg is going to decide to transition into T2. Very low metal right now, and I think that's because this T1 lab is still down. I'd love to see this being eaten up. We are also upgrading the economy back here. This is a great idea. Get these advanced metal extractors up. They do provide a tremendous boost to your economy. And then eat up this T1 lab, and you're going to be in a really good spot to go up to that T2. I think we should go Eco or T2 rather than one or the other. But all things considered, I don't think it's going to be that much of a hindrance here to Zeeberg, who already has total control over the naval theater. Nicely done, by the way, getting these metal extractors down. That's another key aspect of that, is making sure that you have all of the economy there to, at the very least, keep your units coming out. Or your buildings building. Easy to underestimate, just a couple of metal extractors, but you certainly shouldn't. Torpedo launcher here, going to start firing away. I guess you could call the submarines torpedo launchers too. Yeah, OB2 trying to get in here. I think we need to target the commander. Commanders takes 10 hits in order to kill with submarines. Meaning you could rightly kill it with 4 volleys from 3 submarines. Certainly within reason here. I would hesitate to call that beyond all reason. Submarines here cleared away some of the metal extractors, and at the very least it is going to be OB2 on the back foot for now. However, that being said, ooh, that is a massive run by a platypus over here. 17 platypus. One of them got caught up in this cliff over here and has abandoned the fight. Has decided to live a peaceful life. Yeah, these platypus, oh well, they are fighting quite a couple of these battleships here. Destroyers, rather. But the destroyer's not really able to shut down all too many of them. 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 of them gonna go down here, but enough of them make it to land that I think this is gonna be really devastating. Excellent Q, by the way, right here. This is really nice. Spreading them out so you know the damage is distributed. Wind turbines way too close together. Those are all gonna chain react off each other, as we've seen one too many times. And that is going to be all she wrote for the power supply of the purple player. Oh, okay. Nice little run by here. This is a lot of damage. This could certainly turn this game around here for the red team. Couple of platypus here. Oh, we need to, yep, there we go. Gonna finish off the T2 metal extractors. Those are also important to shut down. They provide a huge boost of economy, and so it's really important that you shut all of those off. Maybe not the most impressive unit, but certainly in big enough numbers, the platypus can absolutely do a huge amount of work. Now this is nice. Backline player did notice at the, at least in time here, that there was platypus running across the beach here, and did manage to get a couple of pit bulls up and running in order to try and deal with this here. Got 2 of them up and running, and I think it's going to be enough to clean up the majority of this push here. As you can see, those pit bulls firing away their little rapid fire Gauss projectile, trying to do some damage however they can. Gonna hit the windmills. Oh, these weren't quite cleaned up. Oh. Wait, are these? Oh, these are chain reacting. Oh, what on earth? Oh my goodness, it's the slowest chain reaction ever. You can see all the spectators freaking out here. He managed to save it by building or by repairing one of them in progress. That's hilarious. Those were just, I think there were quite literally 1 box too close to each other and managed to chain react off each other. That is wild. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. That might possibly be the slowest chain reaction I've ever seen. It was like a fuse. It was like watching a timed explosive go off slowly but surely. Oh, T2 lab was started up here by our orange player, OB2, but I don't think it's going to finish here. Build power seconds away from finishing, but it does go down. Oh, that hurts. OB2 actually has no way of dealing with submarines. Interesting decision to not go into any kind of destroyers or anything like that, instead focusing entirely on above the seas units here. Was trying to get some submarines of his own out, but destroyers are really what you're looking for here to deal with big submarine forces. And now the Dolphins are coming in to sweep away all of the forces here of OB2. OB2 has tons of metal in the bank, but just no way to spend it right now. No build power, none of that. We do have a background area over here, a couple of build turrets over here, and so I'd love to see an APHIS coming up, a couple of advanced energy converters, just start going properly into that late game economy. Because if you ever want to get T3 to push into this area, it's definitely what you're going to need. Now this is quite nice. Platypus here from Solo Q are going to turn the tide of that naval battle at the very least. Whoa, wait, what on earth? Okay, that was weird. Purple's commander did wander a little bit too far, I suppose. Torpedo launchers, torpedo spitters, the eels, otherwise known as submarines to most sane folks of the world, managed to snipe the commander. I mean, yeah, 9 submarines, they'll kill it in 2 volleys. Okay. Interesting. Well, it looked like an unrecoverable trade. Now looks well recoverable. Going to die to a hover rush. Looks like the red players decided to just eco up as mad as possible here. Also going into tumbleweeds, which is quite interesting. Certainly those tumbleweeds can do a lot of damage. And indeed, there they are. Blowing up metal extractors across the map. You gotta self-destruct them though. Self-destructing them makes them do a ton more damage. Ridiculously more damage. It might even be more than 2 times as much damage. It really is a tremendous amount. Platypus going for another run by. Getting a little bit gummed up right here, though, and yeah, those destroyers are having a much better time firing at them now. Yeah, I think the last run by ended up working out a little bit better. More of them made it off the beach here. That being said, there's still quite a lot of them. Now they are all scuffed up, which is nice here. Gonna make it a little bit easier to clean up, maybe. But still, that is going to be a grand total of 14 platypus making their way into the back line, up the ramp, and towards the geothermal here of the purple player, kicking a dead horse while it's down. I don't think that's quite the saying, but I think you get what I mean by it. Cortex big geo gun. I think that's a great idea. And indeed, that's what the blue team has gone for here. You can see they've gone for that Cerberus. This thing is a mean unit. It's got 3 heads of nasty devastation. It also produces power when it's not firing, so there's always that lovely fact to remember. The Mauser are out. Looks like there was a little bit of an EMP stun right here. Looks like that must have been a spy bot on the front lines. So we do see those leaking out here from the T2 lab. The unfortunate thing about the spy bot, right, is if you only have one of them and you EMP detonate one of them, then your vision goes away. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Like, you did paralyze their whole units, but now you can't really attack them because you don't have vision over there. Tricky to deal with. There's that Cerberus firing away. I don't know if the red team has seen it already, but at least by now they do. I'm going for a camera, a forward camera here. I actually really like it. Oh, and there it goes. I liked it while it was up. Unfortunately, didn't last very long. Those spy cameras can definitely give you a nice bit of vision. They're obviously a lot more accessible than spy bots, which are a late game sort of T2 unit. Yeah, spy camera's kind of difficult to get up though, it seems. Yellow player having a hard time getting those up and cloaked in time. There it goes. Wow, that does take quite a while to cloak. That's interesting. Looks like the blue player is taking over for the green player. Not sure why, maybe I said in chat and I missed it, but yeah, the green player decided to tap out for one reason or another, and so the blue player is now fighting across many fronts here. It's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable playing in both the front line and as a Navy player. Usually you want one or the other to be your entire focus. Couple of platypus were just chilling up here, the ones that killed that geothermal, and yeah, they were whittling down the air forces here of the blue team. It's quite nice. We don't usually see the we don't often see the the platypus used as anti-air, I guess, but you know, if you got it, you might as well use it. I actually don't think I mind it one bit at all. Nice torpedo bombing over here. I'm just watching without commentating. Torpedo bombers are doing a great job of shutting down a whole lot of the purple forces. Not to discredit the wonderful dolphins that are trying their very absolute hardest to try and shut some of those down, but I do think the fighters are going to have a much better chance of shutting down some of these T2 torpedo bombers than the actual rapid fire machine guns coming out of those little pea shooters down on the water well. This little air trade here. We have a interesting hodgepodge of units. We've got gunships, we've got T2 transports, we've got all sorts of stuff, fighters as well. Everyone and their mother is building here out of the Armada Air Lab. It's a very interesting decision. Destroyers are completely negating these submarines, though. They're shutting them down. When you're dealing with these destroyers, what you want to do is focus them one at a time. So you want to take down one, and then another, and then another, and another, and another, until eventually there's no more destroyers left on the field. Unfortunately, what I think happened there was those submarines were focused more so on the dolphins, using the dolphins as a meat shield, the purple player was, and instead managing to keep most of the destroyers alive. Can, of course, repair those back up to full health, and that would be quite a powerful decision indeed. A couple of T2 torpedo launchers have been built. As long as you have a sonar station somewhere... I don't see it. You want that T2 sonar station under the water. If you put that anywhere nearby the torpedo launcher, it's going to extend the vision out to where about the torpedo launcher can fire, meaning that you're going to be able to take advantage of its maximum range. And of course, it means then that you're going to be able to shut down these bombs a lot easier here. Here's the pinpointer. There you go. Switch to this thing and you can see it has a tremendous range. It really does. It has a massive sonar range, meaning that these torpedo launchers can fire out to their maximum when, of course, they're fully built, that is. Tumbleweeds need to be split. I would really like to see these split into a very wide patch and then sent across. I think they could certainly do some damage. Also, this is quite nice. A lot of coastal defense over here. Tons and tons of Scorpion batteries. Making sure that any run by that is attempted, at the very least, if it's not very, very heavily committed, it's going to be punished by sweet, sweet retribution. You got to spread the tumbleweeds out because they are, of course, prone to chain reacting. You are a walking bomb walking among walking bombs. It's not going to take much to set off this massive cluster, and there they all go. They take down a Buccaneer for what it's worth, but that was about probably even as far as metal goes. Yeah, I'm going to hazard a guess. These 65 apiece. Yeah, that was probably about an equal trade, if not unfavorable for the red player. Funny thing about the tumbleweeds is they have no sonar vision. So they have a line of sight, but they don't have a underwater line of sight. So they can't see any of these underwater buildings or underwater units. So submarines actually deal with them fairly well if you keep them out of their path. I am impressed with how long this southern fight has been going on here. Orange and purple locked in a just a brutal back and forth, continually trying to outdo each other. The air forces here from the pink player have been quite nice. The shurikens shutting down a lot of those early game units was very nice. Seekers are now out and they're going to start harassing across the map. I'm curious why that was the decision here, and I'm not sure exactly why we sacrificed all these. I mean, maybe parking a couple of them over here so that we could try and whittle down the air wall wouldn't be a bad idea, but right now the orange player just has basically full control over the naval theater in the southern side, so I'm not sure moving those skaters out were the appropriate decision. I always get those mixed up. Razorbacks moving in for the kill. Oh, they can't actually fire on those missile ships. That's quite nice. The player hasn't noticed. There we go. He finally turns them around and gets them out of there. One of them's probably going to survive here. Oh, actually it won't survive. All right, Razorbacks shutting down all of those. That is quite nice. Okay. I mean, I'm sure the red team is very happy to see that, happy to hear that, because yeah, those missile ships can certainly be a real thorn in the side if you're not able to deal with them in any capacity. Vanguard here firing away offshore as well. That's quite nice. Going to be giving a little bit of a taste of its own medicine back to those destroyers who were previously absolutely ravaging the coastlines here of the red team. We're going right on up to that T3 stage. You can see there's a couple of Razorbacks. In fact, it looks like Rognulf wants to hand them off here. Says, who wants these? _ Trying to barter off some of those Razorbacks, figure out who should be in control of them. Not the worst idea, right? Handing off some of your units in case you know that, well, basically you're not going to be able to micro-hold them. Having a sleepy day, I suppose. Woke up nice and early, but I guess it means I can't stay up late. Make me feel like an old man. An old grizzled man. A lot of reclaim right here. I really think Resbot should get on top of all that. Do we have any? Yeah, we do have a few. Fuzu has a Resbot here. Might have forgotten about it. Lost in the cluster of T2 and T3. Oftentimes hard to spot those Resbots. It's one of the reasons why zooming out is so important, by the way. It shows you all the icons, and oftentimes it's a little easier to spot. Like, you can clearly see the Resbot icon here, whereas if I just zoom in a little bit less noticeable right there, although the little construction hat it wears is pretty adorably cute. These hover tanks. They are hover tanks. Bunch of crocodiles. Trying to engage. They're going up against proper T2, and those are heavy hitting T2 as well. T2 Navy, which is quite powerful. T2 Navy is slightly above T2 land, but slightly below T3 land. If you're wondering how they stacked up. Well, I guess it depends what T3. Cataphracts and Lunkheads struggle with T2 Navy, but other than that, pretty much any Navy is going to beat any land army of equivalent tier, I do mean. That is a lot of artillery fire. Indeed, 2 of those despots will go down. I don't think they were expecting quite as much artillery fire as they actually had to deal with right there. Vanguards, as well as about 1 million Quaker, all firing in grand unison, shaking the ground underneath which Nico sits, making sure to blast apart all of the offshore boats that were trying to besiege that area. That was actually really nicely done. Looks like the Shiva printer is up and online though for our blue player. Just pumping out 1.5 million Shiva. Wouldn't mind seeing some alligators mixed in here. For about 1/3 of the cost of a Shiva, you can make those alligators, and they're an extremely durable tank. Very quick as well. Definitely one of my favorites. After beating that supremacy finally on stream, twitch.tv/BrightworksTV, in case you're interested in watching me over there. We do a little. I also stream on YouTube, by the way, in case you're interested, and not interested in Twitch, but interested in the live streams. Anyway, my little ritual is to do one of the scenarios before the stream, just to warm up the stream and everything. And for the last, I don't know, couple of weeks, I've been stuck on the supremacy, the 3rd from the last scenario, and I finally beat it recently. I've been celebrating all week. It's a joy that cannot be described in words. I need a song and a statue to commemorate the love and camaraderie I feel in my heart after beating that terrible, terrible mission. Couple of gunships here, trying to get to work on the orange forces. There is a lot of anti-air included here, though. Anti-air doing a great job of sweeping away a whole lot of this stuff. Yeah, nicely done. Couple of constructors going to set up a Devastator as well. The floating multi-weapon platform. It's quite an interesting one for Cortex. It's the bulwark of the sea. It's a rather interesting model. It's got that bulwark style, but with not so much firepower. Tumbleweeds there do connect a little bit at least, managing to shrug some of that or chip some of that damage, some of that health rather, off the Shiva there. One of them will go down so far. Hover tanks gonna start firing away. Those lunkheads doing a decent amount of damage. Trying to figure out exactly how much damage it is, but it's hard to tell. With the Cataphract mod that we've seen recently on the stream, turning the Cataphract into a turbo laser Star Wars tank, I really wonder if the lunkhead should be next in line here. Not sure even exactly what I would go for in terms of upgrades, but maybe just making it fire a little faster or something. For the cost that you pay for the Cataphract when you're using that mod, the lunkhead is definitely significantly weaker. I've been debating with myself about that actually for a while, and I finally came to a conclusion. Juggernaut is out actually from Nico. I guess is what you get when you inherit 2 different economies, right? You get 2 players worth of economy. It means you can jump up the T3 chain pretty quickly here, and now you can see finishing up not one but a second Juggernaut, 90%, 91% of the way completed here, and that bad boy will be walking out of the lab ASAP. Two Titans used as mobile pulsars here. Something between a Starlight and a pulsar. The mobile, the Titan is, and its mobile shoulder cannon that it can fire around in 360 degrees around itself. There it goes. Showing off its skills for us. There's also a legit pulsar in the back over here. Not bad. I actually wouldn't mind seeing a whole bunch of pulsars being built on the beach over here. It'd be pretty cool to build a whole bunch of pulsars, because then you can blast down basically any ships that get a little too close. I think that might be a neat idea. Maybe I'm just on copium about how good the pulsar is, though, from beating Supremacy again, which relied almost entirely on using pulsars in vast, virtually innumerable quantities. Big old marauder ball is building. Yep. Looks like we are going to be attempting some sort of marauder run by. The question is, will they try and push through in this direction, or will they try and push through in this direction? I think this direction is open a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to say that's probably the better of the two options as far as where the marauder could run by from. There's already the Titans and the T3 out over here, and I think with these lightning turrets as well, it would just be too much damage to sustain, and I think you'd lose too many marauders. Over here, I mean, these could come out of the water essentially right here and run up in this direction. There's not really anything to shut them down. There's a bulwark right here, which might get a shot or two off. And then, of course, there's a couple of these artillery pieces and whatnot that might be able to swing their heads around and get a hit as well. But all said and done, I think that's probably the right decision. And indeed, it looks like that's what Solo Q is going to go for. Making me look smart. Marauder starting to run by in this direction here. And I like it. I think that'll probably be able to do quite a bit of damage. Juggernaut is building. Shiva are now accompanying it. Important that you include support for your Juggernauts, right? Don't want them to get D-gunned, so you have to include Shiva. Include maybe some of those amphibious tanks. Those would probably be a pretty good spam. I know I'm really calling for the amphibious tank today, but I really do genuinely believe it's one of the best units that Cortex has in its pockets. A lot of resbots going down right there. This Marauder incursion certainly has potential. We need to see these split up, though. We need to see like 3 of them go in this direction here, start heading towards Bataruk's base. We need to see 2 or 3 of them split off to kill this economy, and the rest of them split off to go kill the backline economies. You do that, and I think this is a game ender right here. Well, we're headed right towards the economy right now for Pastapola. Kind of. There we go. Eventually going to cause a massive chain reaction over here. No splits, though, and that's going to be all the Marauder wrote in sacrifice for the large majority of the blue players' economy. Not even a scrap was remained, only the ruins of an advanced fusion reactor lying in dirt and debris. All said and done, I mean, that was obviously a very successful Marauder push. Very nicely done to take out one of those bases like that. And that being said, I would lie if I'm not thinking a little bit more in critical terms as far as how much damage could have been done with those Marauders. I mean, you can imagine 2 or 3 of them sneaking out in this direction and heading towards this base over here. Could have taken out a large portion of Bataruk's base as well as a significant portion of the Purple Player's base over here, if not all of it. I think a little bit of splits there might have made even the meager Marauder push turn into a devastating weapon here. Shiva marching their way downtown. Pulsars are being set up as quickly as we can spend the metal. We've got 3 right now, and I happen to know that it takes 9 in order to kill a Juggernaut from start to finish before it gets too close to, well, for anything to be done about the Juggernaut, or for the explosion to start damaging things. Fighters are going to be rallied over this. Try and keep those gunships alive here. The Pulsars are just too slow. Not up in time. Now the Juggernauts are firing away. Build power starts to go down right now. Building tumbleweeds and units outside your base is a bad combination. You can kill the tumbleweeds, and the only place they can detonate is right on top of everything you own. This is crippling damage for the red player here. 2 Juggernauts, tons of Shivas. This is a damn near irrecoverable state, and now the Shiva have jumped on top of the economy. As you can see, that advanced fusion reactor taking hits, and it goes up in smoke. All those bits flying everywhere. RDB does manage to D-gun down one of those Juggernauts at the very least. That's quite nice. Not going to be able to get a second one, though. Gunship going to try and kill the Juggernaut. What are we looking like percentage-wise? About 1% per second. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3... Oh, well, they stopped firing. Anyways. Those Saber, not a terrible solution to the gunships, but still doesn't feel like a very, very optimal one. Titans now cleaning up a whole bunch of the Orange Navy right here. This is really quite nice. We need some res subs in order to eat all this up for the purple player here. Going into a whole lot of Dolphins, but I really would like to see some res subs to eat up all that juicy, juicy metal left over on that side of the map. Looks like Fuzu did manage to D-gun down that second Juggernaut, so that's going to hold the aggression for now, but certainly enough damage has been done to justify it. Well, maybe justifying 2 Juggernauts, I'm not sure about that, but justifying the Shiva at the very least, pushing in there. And now the blue player's got to feel pretty comfortable, essentially ready to get themselves back into the game and use whatever advantage they can here to leverage a victory for their team. A single Razorback is all it takes in order to hold back the T1 spam. It's a very good decision, very tactical decision. Using exactly the right resource to shut down exactly the right problem. That's I often talk about band-aids on open wounds, but that is actually just a band-aid on a paper cut. Like that is the perfect application for that service right there. Titan's just having a field day, sitting around in the water, shooting their beams up into the air, just you know, just enjoying life, just having a blast, not worried about a thing in the world. Shoot, who cares about torpedo bombers? Who cares about any of that? We're here for target practice. Pull. They're gonna start firing their beams. There we go. Pull. In other words, yeah, I think those Titans could probably do a little bit more. I think they could push forward and try and kill the orange player. A little bit of aggression would be nice here. I think the oh, that was quite nice. Advanced geothermal does go up in smoke here, as well as the, or sorry, advanced fusion reactor rather goes up in smoke over here. So at the very least, that's going to be Pasta Polo wiped from this game almost entirely. T3 Lab is still up and running technically, but without build power, that's essentially an empty hole. Titan's capable of great feats of agility. They're actually quite good at ducking and diving and dipping and dodging and delivering fatal blows where they're most needed and then getting out of combat. Bunch of bombers over here. Wow, that was a lot of damage. Okay, what on earth? Those T2 dam busters just completely destroyed that Titan. That was really impressive. Now that was a great catch right there by the Maroon player, essentially trading out all the fighters in order to shut down all those bombers. But I think that was a great move. I mean, you saw just how quickly those bombers completely destroyed that Titan right there. I shudder to think what they would have been able to do, what it would have been able to do had they not been shot down by the forces here of the Maroon player. That being said, yeah, tons of flak over here. Flak ships, that is, from the blue player in order to shut a lot of this down. Razorback run by over here. It's sounds like a fun rodeo. Razorback run, Razorback rodeo. Razorback run by. Anyway, Razorbacks have moved past the front line. How's that? And nuclear bomber here are going to come in to deliver the final blow. Nuclear bomber X3, that is. Yeah, one of them remained unparalyzed. Oh, we need to see this bad boy microed. Gets on top of the fusion reactor. It looks like there's an EMP bomber. Will manage to paralyze that and give enough time for Nico to come over here and de-gun down this Razorback. Oh, he's going to go for the capture command. Interesting. Well, went for the capture command. Probably should have just de-gunned instead. Lost a nice portion of the economy, but also one of those forward anti-nukes. That's a little bit scary, right? Not to have anti-nuke coverage on top of your main facility. Certainly, I would be a little bit worried. Looks like there was trying to be a little bit of an incursion over here by Nico, and instead it will be shut down by Titans as well as their cousin Thor, and there will not be very much that remains after they go to town. Nicely done. Very nicely done. At this point, from a high level, it looks like the Northern Sea is very handily won here by the blue player. However, the blue player doesn't have a great way of pushing out and punishing the red team anymore, as those Titans and Thors and even the Vanguard have locked it all down over there. The Southern Sea is still a contested battle here, and you can see those T3 lunkheads making their way across. Not bad, because of course they can depth charge to hit anything underwater, and they also have that heavy projectile cannon up above in order to shoot away at ships or Titans or basically anything that shows its ugly head where those cannons can reach. And now we can see that those dolphins don't really stand a chance. Yeah, melted away in an instant here. Anti-airship's also going to fall. Those are very expensive. You certainly don't want to lose them. Depth charge is clearing away some of those res subs underneath that were eating up all the wreckage. Definitely the right decision there. Continue eating wreckage as much as you can. That was a great trade, by the way. Do these things have AoE on them? They do. Oh, they have a lot of AoE. Wow. That's actually way more AoE than I expected. You know what? Those are pretty good. Maybe the lunkhead doesn't need a buff to bring it on par with the updated cataphract. Anyways, yeah, maybe the lunkhead is just super good. Depth charge is also able to attack this, meaning that they can sort of double dip in the damage. They can fire their depth charges as well as their little missile launcher thing, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, I really like it. And with that, or reclaim rather. Looks like that's what the orange player is doing. And you can see reclaiming quite a lot here, actually. T3 production is underway, but honestly, we could probably go for some more expensive T3. Start up some Marauder, start up some Titans. Oh, I guess Marauder are cheaper than Lunkheads. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, I guess start up Titans. Start getting those across the map here. You know your enemy already has some. You might as well start investing in them as well. At the very least, build a metal storage so you're not overflowing all too much. Make sure you have enough to go for the ventures that you wish to. Alright, front lines have begun to stagnate. I'm going to go ahead and hit the speed up button. See where we do end up here. Titans are holding the front lines against pawns. Feels like a very expensive solution to a very minor problem. Oh, this is a bummer. Just a perfectly free trade here for OB2, killing these Titans with no contest. Not sure exactly why these Titans were just stopped out here, but that really, really hurts. That's a lot of metal that's just going to be left on the ocean floor here as this Titan does decide to go down. Oh, I saw the self-destruct thing for a second there. Just a second. I think the aquamarine player, maybe what color is it? Seafoam green player, I think that's what I call it. The seafoam green player was thinking about self-destructing that Titan, but was just a hair late. A Juggernaut is produced. That's quite interesting. We have 2 T3 labs over here. No. Must have been given or something by one of the other players. Either way, Titan's holding the front line. It's quite funny. I think they should get aggressive. I think we need to see these Titans trade out for some of the other T3 units before they spiral out of control here. A lot of bombers being built over here. Our blue team leader, Nico, has got 17 of those dam busters, and that's frankly enough to do some serious damage to a lot of different stuff. Oh, Calamity is coming up and online. Which build power do we have here? Grand total of 245 constructors pumping metal left, right, center, up, down, and into a entire Calamity. Going to have that bad boy up in just a little while here. Just, I don't know, 30 seconds or so before this Calamity comes up and online. 67% of the way through. You see just how much metal is going into that every single second. 61,000 metal is the total cost for a Calamity, which is just ridiculous here. Just waiting on this bad boy to come up. I do believe this is probably going to be our end game condition. Surviving a Calamity up on this hill is very difficult to do. You need a lot of shield generators in order to deflect those shots. I'm gonna hazard a guess that it's 4 to 5 in order to properly survive from the Calamity. Calamity is up. You start firing it. Calamity is a waste of metal if you're not gonna fire it immediately. There we go. Gonna fire it into the enemy base here. Right into the heart of Tom 1287. Oh, not statistics. Sorry, I meant to click the player view over here. And there we go. We can see that Calamity is firing well into the back line over here. Going to start doing... Whoops, not pause. Sorry. Going to start doing a ton of damage to the economy of our yellow player. Not to mention also... Gonna pop those advanced fusion reactors. Oh, well, maybe not. Changing targets, actually. Going to go after Fuzu's base. So we killed the economy here of Tom 1286. Killed the economy of Fuzu. That's 2. This is triggered an all-in from the Rune player, who has decided to send the tanks forward. I'd love to see some EMP missiles. Oh, the advanced geothermal. Oh, the advanced geothermal. It is in range right now. Oh, and it is going to pop. Starts a chain reaction that's going to end with a massive cataclysm, sending a ricochet all the way across here into the orange player's base. 1, 2, 3, 4 bases taken down by the Calamity, and I'm not going to be surprised if it's a 5th one underway here, as we do see a hot pink player well under siege. That being said, the counterattack is launched. The Thors, they're so hard to stop. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Those Thors don't really have a great counter right now. Fighters are sent in here, but there's tons of flak in order to shut this down. I mean, yeah, Sabres are trying their very best. Is it going to be enough, though? I don't think so. AA will hold on for now. The Thors are moving in, though. EMP bomber's not going to do very much. Nuclear bomber's going to be a slightly better option. Certainly. I think these EMP bombers are just on a fight command or patrol command from their little patrol path that they've got. These Thors are getting well into the backline, though. Calamity continues to fire here, but we do have 3 shield generators. And it looks like they're holding for the most part. Yeah, shield generators are holding. Maybe it's 3 shield generators in order to keep the Calamity at bay. Might also just be because the shots are glancing. EMP missile on the Calamity relieves that firepower for a second or two as well. Very nicely done to use those EMP missiles from the Thors. Oftentimes neglected, but it is certainly one of their superpowers. EMP bombers actually just EMPing the defensive forces. Oh no! Oh, the EMP bombers have betrayed their team here as the friendly forces have been EMP'd down. Meanwhile, the Thor, which is immune to EMP, is just getting free kills. Oh, that hurts. You gotta be so upset as the player here that is, yeah, trying to defend with the forces just to watch as everything gets stunned out of commission. Ooh. That hurts. Calamity's still firing, but at this point, it's basically done the damage that it can, and there's just no units out here on the field here for the blue team. Yeah, the Thors are pushing in. There's a Pulsar up here. That's quite funny. Pulsar trying its very best to stop as much of this as possible. You can see Pastapolo begging to try and stop EMPing the Thors. Ragnolf believes. He believes that if one day he EMPs the Thor hard enough, it will shut down. Fortunately, what he doesn't know is the Thor invented the EMP. He managed to EMP his own nuclear bomber as well. Yes, it's possible. You can EMP planes. You can even use shurikens to EMP other shurikens, which is a fun little tidbit to let you, let you soak in here as we come to a conclusion on this match. Massive chain reaction explosion over here. That's going to be all she wrote for Ragnolf's base. Nico's commander marching forward to degun this tank is going to get it. It's quite nice. Meanwhile, this Thor over here still going to town with a whole bunch of those wind turbines, trying their very best. The Pulsar wall has been built. How many do we have here? 7 Pulsars in grand total. Difficult to deal with, but certainly a Juggernaut would be able to penetrate that. I'm 100% certain a Juggernaut would be able to penetrate that. I've been traumatized by Supremacy, but it does mean that I have a ridiculous understanding of exactly how many Pulsars you need to deal with different units across the board. You want about 9 to deal with the capital ship. You need at least 8 in order to deal with the Juggernaut, and you want about 12 to deal with Juggernauts consistently. Sometimes Juggernauts can get a little bit closer than you'd like. The wider you spread them out, the better as well. Yeah, I mean, this Thor is in the back line. Oh, looks like some units were handed over there. There's a bunch of announcements pop up on the bottom of my screen. Yeah, I think this is all she wrote here for this base. There's not really any units to shut this down. Where did that commander go, by the way? Was it Nico's commander or not? I'm not sure. Either way, there was a commander over here at one point. That point is no longer. Oh, 10% health left in this bad boy. 9. Boom goes the base. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sorry, I guess that's just what comes to mind here. I'm in the holiday spirits when I see all those little bits and bobs flying up into the air. That certainly makes me feel like I'm watching some sort of festive miracle. What a turnaround. That Calamity really shut down 4 different bases for the red team, and still they managed to, in one final push, break the blue team. Triggered the all-in. The blue team triggered the all-in, but the red team had the units to fight it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Units are pretty OP because they're basically just static defense, except that they can move, which makes them very good. Now the Titans are all over the place and marching in every which direction. A couple of capital ships over here. Looks like 3 capital ships in total. A grand total of 54,000 metal, 474,000 energy. And frankly speaking, I do believe it probably could have been spent elsewhere. We already had so much damage done to all of these bases. Now, granted, those might have been built before the Calamity was built, but still, using that metal on basically any other thing would probably have been a more wise expenditure. At this point, RGX really the only one with a significant base. Actually, not to undercut Nico, who does still have a substantial force over here, although it is fading quickly. Titan's blasting away at all the build power, shutting down any kind of naval production over here. Titan needs to keep moving. Not sure why we APM stalled that one. These Titans definitely should start heading towards the base and continuing to apply pressure here. And I think after not too long, it's going to be a red team victory here. It's all told in the eco bar in the top right, of course, where you can see that the blue team pulling in about roughly 480 metal per second, whereas the blue is pulling in about 1,400, more or less. And indeed, it looks like the blue team has decided that they have been beat. They will tap out of the game. What an excellent back and forth right there. Calamity pushed on the red team, forced them to go for some sort of an all-in attack. Red players sent in all their units, managed to shut down the economy of the blue, and eventually swing the game back in their favor. What a really, really cool one. I certainly enjoyed that, and I hope you did too. I hope you'll check out the comment section down below, where you can join the Discord, by the way, in case you'd like to submit replays of your own for me to check out. As well, you can always leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in daily Beyond All Reason videos. Other than that, though, I just hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next Beyond All Reason video. Peace out, folks.